Live. Hello, everyone. Good day. Dr. Joseph H. Vertino here. Reiki master, energy healer in the tradition known as Usui, named after the founder of Reiki, Dr. Mikao Usui, who was a Buddhist monk raised by samurai. And I'm also, my main title is spiritual guide. And I'm also a professional author and a musician. I just finished a book called The Reform of the Education System. And I'm looking for people to get involved with that, to get involved, I guess would be the whole thing. But so that, because there's actualizable ideas in there that are needed, and I have to do my duty of exposing it to people and putting it out there, because if someone is correct, it's their duty to share it, so that they can help humanity, whether, it just is. Anyways, so, and this is my friend, Mr. Cardoza, Mr. Brian Cardoza. Please introduce yourself. I have to turn off my alarm on my phone. But go ahead.
You got it. So my name is Brian Cardoza. I am the assistant director to Rhode Island Atheists. We're a 501c3 nonprofit that just trying to make the world a little bit better. I'm trying to make atheism a little bit more acknowledged and tolerated, I guess, to like normalize it, I guess would be a better word. We'd like to break down the misconceptions that a lot of people have about atheists and about people who are non-religious. And I don't know, that's basically about it. That's our mission, just to make an inclusive, more tolerable society, and just move us forward rather than letting old hang-ups that are usually from a religious background to drag us back to the past. That's our mission.
Lovely. Yes. In that way, talking about, well, our topic today is community outreach, which you put as a topic, but I certainly we can talk and talk about atheism. And really, it's not even so much, I mean, it's about atheism for sure, but the real core thing or issue, to use a word, obviously would be the lack of tolerance for whatever the issue would be an ignorance, I guess. And then basically, if someone's acting out in that place of ignorance, that's the issue. In Buddhism, there's, I guess we could say, I'll kind of go with that in that way. Dukkha is ignorant thought processes that if people are holding them, right? So if you have ignorant thought processes that are going around, swirling around in your mind, so to speak, your beautiful space of awareness, and if they swirl around and, then you end up acting, in a way that, would be in alignment with Mara in Buddhism, which is the root of unnecessary suffering. So if you have ignorant thought processes that are being entertained, so to speak.
Yeah, we have a whole ecosystem ready to capitalize on ignorance.
Wow.
It's weaponized. I mean, for real, I don't want to get political about it, but I feel like I don't have a choice but to in the society that we're in. I'm a lefty. 100%. I'm a lefty. I'm not a Democrat. I'm definitely a liberal. A lot of my friends lean more to the right. I'm Portuguese, so I have a lot of family that is very, very extremely conservative. I live in Rhode Island, which is the most Catholic state in the country. But the way that I see things is that people want to hold on to ideas that kind of conflict with the way that the world is right now. And I think that's where the ignorance is coming from. It's not wanting to accept the way that things are. It's wanting to have them the way that you want to. It's kind of like a preferred story, like a preferred story that they're telling themselves. And we have an ecosystem of media and influences that are more than willing to capitalize on this. We have politicians who are more than willing to weaponize it, so that's another thing that we try to combat. And we have help from other sources, from believe it or not, from churches in our area. We have local churches that help us in our mission of keeping the church out of the state, keeping the state out of people's lives, and making things more equitable and more tolerable for everybody.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this is wonderful, and I'm glad that I'm connecting with you, and that connecting with you after, just as now being in the know about, who you are and what you do, I'm very glad to be connected with you, just to say that. And something I do say to people is thank you for your service to humanity. I feel that's a very necessary phrase.
Acknowledgement.
It
is. It is.
And also someone who has been, just to throw it out there, someone who has been suicidal before. I think of people who are doing necessary tasks around the world. Janitor, it could be anything. Doesn't mean that that's, something that's easy to pass by. So if it's,
everybody has value.
Yes.
Everyone.
Those people like bus drivers, janitors, and all these different necessary functional roles. And how easy is it for us to pass by those people without thanking them? So I make a task that I'm solidly in that habit of doing that, thanking those people for their service to humanity.
Yeah.
But yes,
I appreciate people's existence just in a broad sense. Just thank you for being here. Thank you for, even if you are having a bad time and you need somebody to pick you up, thank you for making that a part of the spectrum of life,
Yeah.
So I go down rabbit holes sometimes, and I get a little deeper than necessary.
That's okay. That's probably right why I'm stopping right now. So there's three things that we basically kind of started talking about. So what I want to do is, I guess, pick one and kind of go into it more. So it was community outreach, the atheist, Rhode Island atheist. I don't know what the last word is.
It's so I'm just the assistant director of Rhode Island Atheists.
Rhode Island Atheists. Okay, so community outreach, Rhode Island Atheists, and these are obviously all connected.
Yeah.
In particular, through you, obviously you're involved in all of them, obviously,
yeah.
But there's still separate, things in that way.
Yeah.
Outreach, Rhode Island Atheists, and there was the stuff about the political stuff that you kind of introduced in there, and different kind of community stuff, meaning that there's people you said that were that are Christian, or they're not atheists, but still supporting the endeavor of in some kind of way,
just trying to help make people more comfortable, I guess, and to see where there's a need for someone and trying to fill it, trying to make their life a little bit easier, and it's usually done with I do a lot of work with homeless people. Every Monday night I go downtown Providence. There's a bus terminal called Kennedy Plaza, and it's the biggest in the state, and that's where a lot of people who don't have anywhere to go end up. So we bring blankets, we bring food, we bring toiletries, we bring things to do, maybe puzzles for the kids, or hand warmers, hats, gloves, socks, sometimes antibiotics when we have them, or naloxone, or we have test strips for xylitol and a bunch of other drugs I don't really know anything about, but there are people that need help, and there's a niche that I think our government isn't really ready or willing to get a hold of. So we have friends like the John Brown Gun Club. We have the Unitarian Church, the Methodist churches. Almost every church in the downtown area, even a Baptist church. Like I said, this is a very Catholic state. The Catholic Church does not, just out of principle, I guess, will not help us with anything. I understand we are, I mean, it's not my enemy, but that's definitely our competition, I guess. And that's the way that they see it too. So there are charities that they have that are kind of, I guess you could say that they complement what we do. That's kind of a bad word for it too, though. So a quick little story. Excuse me. We have this this program. It's called Sandwiches Without Sermons. So there's a few churches in the Providence area that will feed people after an hour-long sermon. So you have to sit for the sermon to get food. And sometimes you can go by and you can see the long line of people just sitting out there, and they have to put their name down. There was another pastor who makes people pick up 25 cigarette butts in order to eat. Some of these people are in wheelchairs. Some of these people don't have the mental capacity to do work. You know what I mean? They're not well. He does not make exceptions. So the Sandwiches Without the Sermons thing is kind of what we did to combat that. And that's kind of just our way to introduce the atheists as people helping people. So we, just find people standing in lines sometimes, and we will give them food. They can stay if they want, but they don't have to. If the food is the only reason why they're there, I don't feel like it's a responsible thing to make them sit for it. We also protect the religious freedoms of other people. We not only respect it, we protect them. When there are prayers that were mandatory after like sporting events at a Providence school, we fight for those. We fight for not taking the prayers down, but keeping them to yourselves, and where I've said that this is a very Christian state, there are other religions other than Christians here that may not appreciate that. We're not trying to take things away from them. We're trying to find ways to include others into it.
Yes.
It's kind of like we want a seat at the table too. It's not just you there. It's been historically, the power has been with the majority religion, which is kind of goes against everything this country was made for, so we're trying to, just instill that. And it's kind of funny, the religious freedom happened in Rhode Island with Roger Williams. He got kicked out of Plymouth Bay Colony because he was too extreme as a Quaker, or excuse me, as a Puritan rather. He was too extreme, so they kicked him out, and he made a place. That's why Providence is called Providence. That's the capital of the state. It's Providence. It was a place where everybody can come and their version of God is accepted. It's where the it's where the country's first Baptist church is. We had one of the oldest synagogues. It's because we have a really big Jewish population too on the east side of Providence, but we are inclusive. That's kind of like our state mantra. And I feel like that there are agents in and around politics that try to discredit that and kind of kick that back and make it as it's not as important as anything else, So, we fight to keep that, we fight to keep it. And it's kind of a good segue into the political stuff. We have partners that we, that are 501 C4s and 501c7s that have the political, they have that latitude to do the lobbying that we are not. Our political aspirations have to be limited because of the type of organization that we are.
Okay.
So
So hold on. So I understand in all kinds of different things, and different things going on, but
Mhm.
I guess, yeah. Well, that's, I mean, it's obviously it's good stuff, that you're getting involved in, so that's wonderful, and that you being at a place, I feel that it's very important for people to have the energy of proper, I could say, aligned pride,
Mhm.
right? So alignment, means basically you're in a place where you are, um, alignment. I mean, it's that you are. There's only one of you,
Yeah.
right? So there's only one of you, and then you in that place are not being scattered, obviously, because you're accepting that there's only
Mhm.
one of you, right? And in that, then what's happening is, in that energy, that acceptance of that, you're acting, which would be the energy of alignment, right?
Go
And then
on.
basically, yes, and then
Um,
basically the important thing that I said earlier was the importance was having the energy, the of proper self pride,
mhm.
right? That isn't based on, it isn't based on a misaligned energy, right? So that would be dukkha. If someone was saying, "Well, I am in a place where I think I need to do something, but it's a misaligned or misaligning
Yeah.
and misaligning energy," right? Then that's dukkha, because that's ignorant thought processes, right? And if you follow suit with that, then what you end up happening is unnecessary suffering, right? Which is Mara, right? In Buddhism.
Some
Yeah.
people don't. So some people, I feel like when they have a goal in mind, the
Yes.
unnecessary suffering is a consequence or a casualty that's acceptable. So that's where a lot of the problems that we have stem from is I just selfishness and aggrieved entitlement, you know, and I
Selfishness.
see
Oh,
that.
yeah. Okay.
Say that
I,
again.
I was just repeating what you thought. I heard it, but I was just saying it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think what you
I
said. Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the biggest symptoms to broken things, is just people trying to get over on others just to push their thing, whatever their thing is,
Well, that thing at the end, especially because the first thing you said, right, when you started talking just now, the first thing you were saying is you're talking about you actually having the intention.
Mhm.
That's a good intention, right? And you're working to achieve the
Yeah,
goal.
yeah.
And when you're saying on the way, there's problems that arise.
Things happen. Yeah, yeah.
Then the thing you said after that was hinting or pointing at if people are just completely in the wrong. It seemed like,
Mhm.
what, so that they're even the task that they're at a place where they're too confused to even
Yeah,
start the
yeah,
task
yeah.
properly.
Or they just don't care. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of that
Yeah.
too,
Well,
where
I mean,
where people
go
just
ahead.
don't care about the pain that they cause. They
Oh,
don't
well,
care
that is,
about the hurt that they cause. And
well,
that's
you
I
can't
find
be.
that appalling. And unfortunately, I have family and friends who are guilty of this, and you can't make them see where they're wrong. You can't make someone care. You know what I mean? So it's hard and we get stuck often. I
Yeah.
try to have as little contact as I can with them, and I don't know if they've always had these feelings or they're just, you know, I don't know if they've been led to think the way they have or they've always thought this and it wasn't sociably acceptable to have them, so they hid them and kind of acted as another person. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's
Yes.
it. It confuses me a lot, and I don't know where
Yes.
to go with it because there are a lot of people that I love dearly
Yes.
that are just screwed up, you know, in a sort of sense, as the way that I see it. They don't appreciate life. They don't appreciate people. The things that they do convince them that they do, but they don't.
Yes.
They don't.
And
It's like
I
somebody. pro-life that hates immigrants. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, or somebody that's pro-life that is for the death penalty. Like it makes no sense. That's the cognitive dissonance is so palatable. It's comical, you know, and you can't get it through that it's not right, you know. This is one of the frustrating things that I go through on a daily basis.
And I'm very, very glad and I guess to say proud that you are speaking in a way that is so open about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like because that energy is what would help them. I
feel like it should, but it you can, you know, that old saying, like, take a horse to water, you know, it's kind of like the thing. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to make things better. So there was a guy in Walmart. Just give me 1 second. I'll make this point. So there was this guy in Walmart. He was talking to a cashier about how his church picks up 2 busloads of people every night to bring them to a church to eat dinner. At the surface, like, that's pretty good. I heard a little bit of it. I was like, oh, I do that too. I was like, so where do you pick people up? He was like, oh, Kennedy Plaza. I was like, every night? He's like, yeah, every night around 7. I was like, I have never seen 2 busloads of people go from Kennedy Plaza to a church. I didn't call him a liar, but he was lying, you know, and I understand that he sees a problem that needs to be worked on, but the thought hasn't left his head. It's just kind of stuck there. And as he's talking to this woman, and I'm asking him, I'm like, so what nights do you guys go down there? He was like, well, it's 6 nights a week, you know. I was like, I'm down there sometimes. I don't ever see a bus. He was like, oh, well, we have a van sometimes too. So I was like, so you got 2 busloads of people to 1 van, you know, and it's not 6 nights a week, went to 1 night a week sometimes. You know what I mean? So it was his heart was in the right place, I thought, until I asked. I was like, you know, so it's a good thing that you're doing, you know, even if you don't do it as much as you'd want. And he said, well, I want to bring the glory of Christ to everyone. It's like, so you're not even trying to feed people. You're trying to, like, you're using the food as a vector to get your message across, to make your idea better. I was a little mad, but I didn't confront him, obviously, in the store in front of everybody, but I was, you know, I was mad about that. I was mad about that. Like, it's not, you're putting strings attached to things, almost like you're like tricking people. You shouldn't have to do that. If somebody wants to go into a church, we're not fighting for attention. We're trying to help people. You know what I mean? Like, people say God bless me as I'm wearing an atheist t-shirt. I say thank you. I don't care. You know what I mean? Because that's not my objective, is actually helping people. It's not trying to get my ideas across. I want people to see atheists as not the horn having Satan worshipers that they think we are, you know, or they think we eat babies or have rituals or, you know, believe in things that we don't. It's not true, you know, and things like this energize me, I think. Just things like that. Like, wow, that guy is actually, he's feeding people is his second objective. Getting his idea across and spreading his self-replicating idea is front and foremost, you know.
Yeah, I'm noticing that, you know, learning about you as an individual during this podcast, and, you know, what I'm noticing about you, you have a wonderfully apparent trait.
No, thank you.
Skill of, you know, I guess bringing light to specific aspects of people's of people in general, but basically you could say the parts kind of from a master healer's perspective, I guess we could say, being a master healer in the energy healing, is still in the tradition of Usui, the
Mhm.
bringing light into you're bringing light into it, and in the way that the only thing that would be in the way of that is if there was judgment, because you're speaking from a place of honesty, and
Yeah.
sincerity, but you're the commenting that you're doing with people on a real personal or slash personality level is very
Yeah.
valid. I could tell by the way you're saying it that there's is truth in there. And
I don't want to
hold on, and I just
go
want
on.
to say
Sorry.
that's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that at all, objectively, at all. Zero things wrong with that at all. And really the thing is you know if people would be open to their own growth in earnest, then what that would validate. Well, I mean, I am already validating it, but
Yeah.
that would bring to the awareness, the forefront, the reason why that talk would be going on. So for
Mhm.
example, if you were to tell the people, right, that the stuff that's being brought out, through or that you're perceiving that, and there's a reason that you're voicing it. If people were geared towards their own growth in earnest, then what you would be doing by putting that out would actually be like a grace, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it'd be a blessed thing, because you'd be showing them within the bounds of appropriateness, the parts of themselves that they would need to look at, I guess, so to speak,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
on a serious level.
Yeah. I'm
um,
following.
and I understand, I can already tell that you're a respectful person, and that um in that way, and that you're not trying to disrespect people. So literally, that's actually my actual, I guess the right word would be diagnosis, as an
Mhm.
expert in the field of healing, as that whole thing, right? That you have the situation. So for example, like, if you meet the person and you see them and you're observing them,
Mhm.
right? You're not ignoring them, you're giving them attention, you're observing them, and in that observation, there's that response that happens, right? And then basically in that response, what all I'm saying is that response is correct. It's
Mhm.
aligned and aligning, and there's a reason that you have that going on. Enjoy your vape. I can talk for a little bit.
Yeah.
But basically what that is, and like when I was a child, I would observe people, and I would be that was like my whole thing when I was a kid. So I would observe. Like, I remember I'd go upstairs in my room and I would sit on my carpet, and I would sit there, and I remember I would just be content, and there'd be
Yeah.
nothing particular going on. And then when I was at the mall with my dad, he taught me people watching, and I got that in that, very, very much observant. I wasn't super chatty,
I
and
was.
yeah, I was going to say, as you as a child, you're probably, very chatty, which is it's just a good thing. We're not all the same. If there and you know my thing about this, and I'll kind of tie some of the ropes
Okay.
that kind of I exposed, since I in these phrases together in a little kind of thing here. So, and it's all, this whole thing's about healing, basically. So if you understand that we're all different, right? So when I grew up, I was observant, and when you grew up, you were a child, you were chatty. So, and being children, we're innocent. So there's, I guess we could say, in the weirdestly obvious logical way, there's proof in that no one is meant to be the same, because children being children is the best thing ever,
Yeah.
right? And
We all
then,
have
because that's
different
just innocent, that's
experiences.
the God's anyway. Yes. And even, yeah, and in that way, and then we experience things differently, right?
Yeah.
So even if we went to the same place, say we were friends
Yeah.
when we were children, and we went to a haunted house together, and it was the same exact objective, right? Like, experience, in the sense of that it's the same building that we're walking through. And even if we were walking next to each other, holding each other's hand, and we're walking through the haunted house, we're going to have completely different personal subjective
Yeah.
experiences, right?
I have
So,
triplets who are so different. I have friends who are triplets, sorry, who are so different. And the only way that I could tell them apart is the oldest one would talk to me. You know, they were cute. I think I had a crush on all of them because they all kind of looked the same when I was little. But the older one was the one that would talk to me. So now they're all artists, but they do different things. Like one of them's she's an architect, another one is a musician, and another one does design, graphic design. So they all do like the same, but they're so different. They even sound differently, even though their voices are really alike. But yeah, still friends with them too. But yes, even people with identical genetics are different, just from the need of perspective as different. You know, there were times when I have four nieces that, you know, I've obviously known since they were little girls. It's funny the things that they remember me doing that I don't remember, like telling them that it was okay to eat cereal in a mug. You know, like I don't remember that, but that was something that they remember. You know.
So let me finish this point, and thank you for sharing more of that. My point of this is that validating that the aligning and aligned energy of you is valid. So I'm validating that, right? So that you know, so from an outside person, who's a master healer, that's a correct thing, right? That there's nothing wrong with that commentary at all. And then the thing is that the people's responses to it are out of your control, right, and out of your hands, right? So that's the completion of that. That's the proper perspective with no ignorance in it of that, right? So now my main point of the whole thing, I guess, is that if we understand that, obviously it's serving that commentary that you're saying, like I said, is serving the purposes of healing, which is the whole thing going on with humanity right now. And on the deepest level, on the most serious level, if people accepted that there's zero things wrong with absolutely needing healing. So if all the people in the world, and obviously the people who are in charge of certain things or whatever, if they all were in that place of accepting that there's nothing wrong with needing healing, we would be much more open. And that's really what's going on anyways, though, right?
I agree.
Which is why I'm needed, right? Because
I agree with that. Yeah. If we had people that would just accept that there's a need for it,
yes,
the world would be a better place.
So this main point here is basically that we know logically, obviously, in the example of the children thing, and it's already obvious, but I'll say it because I'm just being logical. If you were a child and you're a certain way and you're vastly different than other children, it's obviously not meant to be that we're meant to be the same. And similar shouldn't even be used because it's not funny, right? To consider that there's any wrongness in that at all, because that would certainly be just insane and crazy. But if you understand and carry that through logically to different points in your adult life, we can say there are a little bit of craziness in there based off of that, in that logical follows through, because you're the same person, you're in the same universe as that, as in that whole thing. So my point of this is that if people understand what I'm saying with this, the motion, I guess the goal I'm trying to achieve with this point is that the proper perspective is we are all meant to be different, and that will never not be true. But if we understand, in order to get along better as individuals and collective and groups of individuals, what have you, interacting with other groups or other individuals too, all of that, along to get along better, you accepting that that's true and it's never going to not be the case, and that allowing yourself to completely let go of any resistance you have to that being true forever, right? So that we're all meant to be different. So, and that if we understand that, because the foundational saying, the universal truth is we all deserve to be happy and not suffer needlessly.
Yeah.
So understand that's true. That's the grounding, right? And then of that, and then you understand that you are that's the ground. So in order for any of the plants to grow, we need the ground, right? We need the dirt. So that's the dirt, literally, right? And then in following suit in that analogy, we're the plant, right? So the seed has to go in that dirt in order for the plant to, which is us, to grow, to grow at all, really, in that way, and yes. So and then basically that's to my point is that, and there's all kinds, and it's a very, very personal thing. So I have to be careful, obviously, and with this, if we were to talk about, I think, well, let's go with this. I think a very cool thing that we could talk about. I'm supposed to go at 11, which is 18 minutes from now, and I certainly could, but I'm an adult and I'll take care of that. And if I feel that this is more important to talk, if we're still talking the next day. So don't worry at all about that. So basically, what I was going to say, what we could talk about now, we already mentioned our childhood. I feel like you're an extrovert.
I think I'm a mix. I have a tendency of very deep thought. I overthink things. I do HVAC as a career. I went to school for ecology and physics. So I tend to complicate things more than they're needed to. And I think the more I think, the more complicated they get. So yeah, I guess I think I'm a fair mix of the two. I'm introverted when I need to be, when I'm alone, but extrovert when I'm not, I guess, is the, very flexible with that, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, I think what it sounds like, I mean, I do think you're an extrovert, but what I think that it sounds like is you are very, you're adaptable to your circumstances.
Fluid.
Yes. So there's nothing wrong with that in that way. And then obviously, but this, in this kind of way, these podcasts, I could even say, is to express so as to achieve the goal of if we understand that we're in a world that no one else is controlling, that we're all responsible for it.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing about that, yay. And the thing about that is basically if we understand that, we're all in that place of it's one there shouldn't be people shouldn't have to adapt, right? If it's So what I mean by this is basically what I'm thinking of is if there's situations where you were going through life and you had to, and you obviously you don't have to say a word if you don't want to, but about anything about that, but if you had situations going on in your life where you had to adapt to survive, right? Or that, and obviously
I've been in situations. Yeah.
Because the thing is that when that happens, that's the same child, right? That was there. You're just grown up now, right? That's my perspective on that. And what should happen is people need to release the fear of growth. So, for example, does that make sense? And that's a horrible thing. That's why I feel like
it's an ongoing learning experience. Another big part of me, which kind of like drives me, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. So my mother, not my father. My father was he didn't really care for religion, never really talked about God or anything like that. But I was raised very fundamental. I wasn't really allowed to have questions that were bigger than what the Bible said. And whenever I had a question, it would always get shot down. I think that's another thing that drives me. I'm trying to think of.
Oh yes. I'm listening. I'm here.
So that has a lot to do with how I interact. When I was a kid, I was made to go door to door and do service and try to sell magazines. You know, when I was a little kid, um, I had homework almost every night. You've got to understand, I went to church 3 nights a week for the first half of my life. You know, I went to I used to have to do talks at the Kingdom Hall every like few months, you know. So that meant I had to take whatever the topic was and research it. You know, if we had something in First Timothy, I'd have to go into the index and see, you know, they did a lot of the work of taking, you know, this is before the internet too, but they did a lot of work where you could go into an index and find reference material from other scriptures and other publications. Jehovah's Witnesses were a publishing company, you know what I mean? So that was another way I got over like the fear of like speaking in public, but it was always pushed and I always had to do things I did not want to do constantly. That was like the whole first part of my life was just when you were saying just doing things to survive. I've had to do that, and maybe not survival whether it was life or death, but survival for my mental well-being. You know, I had to do things that and be a certain way to make it bearable. You know, another thing that is good to know about me, I don't think of chores as chores. I'm able to find a way to have fun with almost anything that I do, you know, whether it be putting away dishes or doing the floor. You know, I don't know if, you know, I was taught that or I just figured it out, you know, so I've always had a pretty good, you know, ethic on that. You know, I think that's more for my mother too, but that was another Jehovah's Witness thing, was you do what you say you're going to do, because Jehovah knows what you're doing and what you're not doing and what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And, you know, you had to learn how to control that kind of thing. It's kind of abusive, but
that's extremely harassing.
Yeah. I have a daughter. I've raised her completely different. Like 100% different. You know, she's an awesome person. You know, now she graduated, you know, went to college, bought a house just a few months ago, you know.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's a tenement house too, so she's a landlord now too. She also, you know, I don't really like the job that she has working. She builds submarines and torpedoes, but you know, that's what she wanted to do. You know, working for the military industrial complex isn't my first choice, but it's not my life. You know, I'm still proud, no matter what.
Yes. And, you know, and I know this is, you know, there's so many. I just want to say thank you for being open, right?
Yeah.
And being open about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you know, if you feel comfortable you're always going to be welcome to, you know, with me to be open that way and to speak out in that way. And if I feel that, you know, as a master healer, you know, if you're causing yourself harm in something, I'll stop and I'll comment on it maybe. And
oh yeah, no, I appreciate that, but I've got a pretty good lid on what my limitations are.
Yes.
So I've had experience in it. Just, you know, I also have a therapist too. That was another. I have no problem understanding that I have problems. You know what I mean? That I have things that I need to work on.
That's the biggest issue, isn't it? The biggest issue is that if
it's
people
getting over that hurdle.
Yeah.
And just accepting that there are things that could be better, you know, with you. Not necessarily that they're wrong, but there are easier ways to like cope. Just to get even more personal, my wife passed away a little bit over 2 years ago, you know, and I raised her son, you know, still in the same house. I've been able to cope with that and to do what I have to do because I have no choice. You know what I mean? But to accept it is a whole other story. You know what I mean? To know what you have to do is one thing, but to accept that this is your lot and you really have to just figure it out is another big thing, you know, whole two separate things. But yeah, getting the learning the tools of being able to exist in a state of, you know, letting myself be sad, but at the same time, not letting that overwhelm other aspects of my life, you know? Yeah, it's helped. And I think
very healthy perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what I have to do, you know?
Yes.
What I have to do. It's just, I have no choice unless I want to let pieces of myself fall away, which they're not going to, because if they do, they weren't really attached to me anyways, you know. Right. So
it reminds me of there's a book that I wrote that I mentioned in the beginning called The Reform of the Education System.
Yep.
And there's a part of the book, I'm trying to remember what chapter, I don't remember specifically which one off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But there's a band, and I put a quote from lyrics from a band called Tool.
I love Tool.
Tool.
I love Tool. Tool with like Maynard Tool.
Maynard James Keenan.
Yes.
Beautiful man.
Awesome band.
Joe's Wine Now. Maybe that's it.
I just saw it. So I went to go see I went to see Hatebreed this weekend. Hatebreed and Shadows Fall in Connecticut. Yeah.
I love metal music and progressive.
Well, you see, I'm wearing a Deicide shirt right here. So I'm wearing a Deicide shirt right here. This is another metal band. They're a little bit anti-theist, but whatever. Their music's awesome. They rock.
Well, yeah. So the Tool thing. Why I'm bringing that up? There's a song that's on the guitar. I can play the intro for you. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's on there, and you'll recognize it when I play the lick. But the lick is the.
I know the pieces fit because I watch them. Yeah, parallel. What the hell's the name of that? Because I watch them fall away. Yeah. Fundamental difference. Yeah, I love Tool. I've seen them once.
But yeah, so the lyrics, the reason I brought that song up and I put that in the book, the lyrics of that song. So to your point, what you were just, and really it's a lot of things. And you would just say, I'm lazy. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I, there's not much to say in the sense of if people had questions after Maynard would declare something like that, that's like my job over here on the side.
Yeah. Yeah.
But basically, and I put that in my book. And I use it, and I am speaking about it, and it's very serious, and especially in the book, very serious thing. And in that way, the piece is fitting. So, for example, that's what it was. You're talking about in therapy that you have layers, so to speak, or different aspects. But aspects is the wrong word. They maybe have seemed like aspects.
I think like attachments, maybe, but that's the wrong word too.
I think of like the whale in the ocean, and it gets like stuff stuck on it,
like barnacles. Yeah.
So
like kind of the same exact. Yeah, no, I'm following.
They get stuck, and then if you don't, so to speak, if you don't deal with it, if you don't deal with yourself, then it can become a wound. Yeah, right. It can become, something that's like an infection.
Yeah,
in that sense of your psyche, to be honest.
My analogy for that is kind of like cutting the lawn. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't want to cut it, the grass is still going to grow. It's going to make it harder the longer you wait to cut it. So it's better just to do it when it's easy, rather than waiting a week until it's rained and there's weeds and it's 1.5 feet tall and it takes 3 hours rather than the 20 minutes that it would normally take, it's
Yes.
just easier to do it at the time you should do it. And it's easier to do it sooner than later, because later the grass is tall, maybe sometimes too tall. Maybe these problems are just too much. Maybe they've become such a festering wound that they're infected, and you've got to literally like handicap yourself to make sure it doesn't spread. There's a lot of ways we could take this metaphor, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
I totally agree. Just there are things that take priority, I guess, that we need to see as a priority, and it doesn't, I think a lot of people's pride, and I think pride comes from fear more than just pride. I think it's fear of just feeling a certain way about themselves, or, I have a brother who does not like needles. His fear of needles made him I guess a vaccine skeptic. He got sick from COVID. He didn't die, but he got sick. Now it could have been stemmed. He's never dealt with the problem that started this. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of another good analogy. And it comes from the fear that he doesn't admit that he has. It's always something else. It's always something else, because he doesn't want people to see him as being weak, but it's not as being weak. He just can't get over it. That was another problem that my dad had too. My dad was like that. My dad thought that if he didn't have a girlfriend, people would think he was gay, and that was like one of his biggest holdups. So even after him and my mother had divorced, he wore his wedding ring because he didn't want people to see him as being like weird for not having a significant other. It was the weirdest thing. But, I don't know where that came from, but anyway, another part of that.
Yes. Well, yes, I guess putting some more words on this beautiful stuff that you're talking about, and there's a lot of it's accurate, and it's lovely to hear, to hear you talk about, because it's very true, it's true stuff. If there were psychologists in here, they say, yeah, basically, all this stuff that you're saying is true. And that's, our throat chakras. I don't know if you're familiar with the word chakra. It's I'm being a Reiki master. It's my business, so to speak, that way to heal chakras. And our throat chakra, which is located here in between our collarbones, right there where my middle finger is
right there.
Yes, in between the bones
where it splits.
So yours, I feel like, would be a little bit higher. So
right there,
right, a little bit low, but yeah. So that the throat chakra is activated. There you go, right there. So the throat chakra is activated by truth. So when we speak the truth, we are our throat chakra becomes more active. And also going back to the foundational saying, the dirt. Remember, I used the analogy of the dirt. So we all deserve to be happy and not suffer needlessly. And in that way, to that point, another assertion or truth is that, by definition, logically, actually is objectively true, absolutely, is that, and they're connected, which is why I'm mentioning it. The foundational saying in this one is, we all want to tell the truth. And in that way, the reason I'm asserting that is, it is objectively universally true, undoubtedly so. Even if someone doesn't know about the thing I'm about to say, but I'm using this as the proof in it, is we all have a throat chakra. And the throat chakra, by definition, is opened and active by the truth. And uh, yes, and that's true for everybody, right? So that's the thing, is that what can we do? How can we live? What are the choices that we can make or not make, so to speak, in context of that? That we have the foundational truth of we all deserve / want to be happy and not suffer needlessly, and that we all want to speak the truth. So, in context of that, which really isn't a bubble, it's actually just the universe, right? The bubble would be the people that are in a place where they're in a concerning place mentally, right? Does that make sense? So
A
so
little bit.
yeah,
I you kind of lost me on the chakra, but that's all right. You can
that's
keep
okay.
going.
Okay. Yeah, so chakras, we have 7 main chakras. That's right. I should have set the premise, I guess, in that way. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I have so many questions about this. I don't even think we have enough time to go over
We
it.
could
But
do another
go on,
one.
go on.
Another podcast. Yeah, we could do another podcast if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, I would love to.
And do stuff like that. So the chakras, we have 7 main chakras. They go from the base of the spine, which is the perineum, which is the base of the spine. They each resonate with a color. They're each separate from each other. Every single being, human being,
Yeah.
has them. All 7 of them. Uh, they are all function the same, meaning that in the sense they have the same function. Like what opens the root chakra is the same for everybody. The same color resonates with all of them. Uh, they can all, be healed in that way by Reiki, which is another objective thing. Certain, so that, but yeah, that we, so there's 7 of them. They go up the spine. They all have different attributes in the sense that the root chakra located at the perineum resonates with the color red, which is the lowest visible color that we have on our visible light.
Yeah, it's at the lowest frequency.
That's
Yeah.
why we have the word
The
infrared.
longest wavelength. The longest. Funny trivia. This is that's why stoplights are red and brake lights are red. So because you can see them from further away because the frequencies are long band. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Thank you. You're educating me and our audience. Thank you. You don't have to apologize for that. But so infra means below red, right? So we can't see that, right? And then ultra means above. So ultraviolet, we can't see that.
Yeah.
So then basically in there, that's our existence, right?
In that spectrum.
In that spectrum, yeah, to use a word, yes, that's where we reside as a being. So and then so going on with this a little bit, kind of, providing some understanding on chakras. So we all have the chakras. The chakras are all they're based in an objectivity in that sense, and in the sense that someone who understands chakras like myself is able to share their knowledge that is objectively applicable to all the people, which is what I'm. So the root chakra resonates with safety. So safety, that energy of safety, we could say opens it, and is what the chakra is about. The energy that opens it is trust. The energy that would block the chakra is fear. Right? So that is what that is. So that's the root chakra. Then we go up through all of the chakras. We were talking about the throat chakra. So the throat chakra, and the way that I could explain it in this way, physiologically. So the chakra is a Sanskrit word that means wheel. Okay, so really it is a wheel in that way, and it's also a vortex and a cone shape. And if this chakra is located right here in the middle of my neck, and we have a vortex that goes out from in front of me this way, and then we have another vortex that goes out in the same point on the back of my spine this way, the other direction. Okay, so that's the throat chakra. Forward, there's a cone, so to speak, or that would go out forward, and there's one that goes backward, but it's all the throat chakra, right? Because it's the same spot. So, and that chakra has to do with truth. And if we understand that, in order for us, we could say, to come into alignment properly, we would have to listen to someone like myself, because I'm speaking in a way that's based in universal truth, and it's applicable to every single person, right? Unlike, we could say, and I don't want to be insulting to compare it to anything, and I guess I don't have to. Certainly, like someone's favorite color, right?
Yeah.
To use an example, right? But so in that way, that's the thing about, if someone truly wants to understand, we could say themselves, they would begin the journey, what I call the chakra journey. But in that way, really what's going on, what I mean is, they would begin going into the self-exploration of chakras in that way. And you would begin to, on a mental conscious level, begin to gain and acquire information and knowledge that, for one, it's undoubtedly true. So it's not a question, right? It's not like, oh, I'm seeking this out and it might be true. You know that it's true, right? Because it just is. And I've explained that in the past, kind of 8 minutes here.
How does that get verified though?
How does that get verified? Yes. I mean, basically, it's kind of like, you're at a place where, how does that get verified? Well, I would say your personal experience is certainly, obviously, 100% in that, and in that area, of
anecdotal evidence
is verification. Evidence.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk. Go on.
It's okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying so anecdotal evidence would be acceptable in.
Well, this is the thing. Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say the anecdotal evidence. See, this is the thing, though, is that the anecdotal evidence, in context of you seeking out validation about chakras, the chakras are not other people's, and the experiences that you're having are not other people's, and the only person that you're working to convince, or that you're working on, would be yourself. So that's 3 out of 3, right? Which is why I said that your personal experience.
So, but yeah, I would ask way too many questions. I don't even want to get started on it. It would take up way too much time. You've been real kind about it.
Sure. Yeah,
no, I understand it enough to look into it, I guess. So I appreciate that. At least
that's the whole thing,
Yeah, I'm skeptical about almost everything. I think I was telling you before that my brother was a Reiki healer for a little while.
Oh, okay.
He's been a window washer to a federal agent and everything in between. He's been a sous chef. So he latches onto a this isn't the brother that's afraid of needles. This is another brother. So yes. He latches on to a career and puts 110% of it and dives into it with both feet, yes. And then gets bored and moves on. And it's like he never did it. He was a high-rise window washer in Boston, washing high-rise windows like in a thing for a while. Then he was a rock climber instructor, which kind of like went into that. And then he became a chef.
Oh, cool.
From there, he became a Reiki healer. And from there, he was an investigator. He was investigating UFO sightings and stuff like that. And from there, he went into being a federal agent from there, he went into doing concrete forms.
Yes.
Concrete forms. And after that, I think he went back to being a chef for a little bit. And
Yes.
when I say a little bit, I mean like 3 weeks, and then got another job with the FBI.
Yes.
After that, went into carpentry, and that's what he's doing now. And he was a plumber because our dad was a plumber in between all this too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, okay. I have to go. But
Okay.
This has been great, and I really
This
do
has
want
been
to.
great.
Yeah, we should do another one.
I appreciate it. Most certainly.
Awesome. Getting to know you, and I hope thank you. I hope it was enjoyable for you. I certainly loved having you on.
It was. I
Hearing
appreciate
your
it.
voice and all the wonderful insights that you have, and the sharing of your personal stuff too.
Yep.
Being respectful, and learning it together and growing. So thank
Do
you.
you mind if I plug?
Go ahead. Try to
So-
do it somewhat quickly, but go ahead.
I'm Brian Cardoza from Rhode Island Atheist. You can find me at riatheist.com. I don't know, support your local group and just be cool. That's it.
Cool.
Right on, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you all for
All
tuning in. Dr. Joseph H. Vertino here. Yes, I have my Facebook at Joe H. Vertino. I have my YouTubes at Joe Vertino and Joseph Vertino. I have my books on Amazon.com under Joseph H. Vertino. And I have, what else do I have? I have a website coming up that I'm making right now, which I think will just be www.joevertino.com, but there might be Squarespace info after it. That's like a after the .com thing, but it'll just be joevertino.com. And I'm available for one-on-ones, Reiki healing sessions, learning Reiki, teaching spiritual guidance one-on-one. I also qualify to lead in meditation. Like I said, I have my books and my music, and I'm looking to teach in groups, online and or in person, spiritually, or what have you, basically. And I know the basics of Tai Chi Qigong and Yoga Asana. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please do like, watch, share, and subscribe, and check out my friend Brian Cardoza also. All right. Angel blessings. Thank you.
Thank you much. Bye.
Bye.